Ok, hola, soy Román González, le mando un saludo a todos los fans, bendiciones, cuídense.
Boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, I wanted to talk about this Roman Gonzalez fight because he recently fought on the undercard of Rio Murata versus Stephen Butler. Now, I did have a chance to watch it live, but I caught the replay on YouTube the next morning. And he fought a 14-5-3 guy, a Filipino fighter. It was a tune-up fight, so let's not go crazy. As you know, I'm a Chocolatito fan. Let's not go crazy over the win. You know, he fought a guy that was a tune-up fight, a guy that's been stopped many times, a couple of times actually in his career. So, you know, what I was looking for Roman Gonzalez in this fight from Chocolatito was for him to, you know, well, first of all, I wanted to know, did he look healthy? Does he look motivated? Does he look confident? And to be fair, you know, you can't really make much of this fight because he really didn't get hit too often. But what I think is the positive sign is that, you know, Roman Gonzalez has taken this level of opposition, just like he did to Moises Fuentes, who was a guy that came up in weight his last fight. And he's dispatching him easily, so that's always a good sign. And, you know, I was reading some quotes from his manager, Carlos Blandon. And Carlos Blandon, who is the manager of Roman Gonzalez, was saying that, you know, his body is healthy again, his knee is healthy again because he had a knee injury apparently. And that's a good sign because, you know, when we look at his career, especially, you know, if you just take away the Moises Fuentes fight and this fight, if we look at his last 3 fights prior to these last 2, which have been very spaced out, he fought Cuadras, his first fight at 115 with no tune-ups, and that was a war. I was there ringside. I was there in LA at the Forum. It was something to behold. It was a really grueling fight for Roman Gonzalez. Then he had the 2 fights wrong beside. The first fight was a 12-round barn burner, which I thought he won. He got robbed. But either way, whether you thought he won, lost, or was a draw, the fight was still a very rough fight because Wang Versailles is a very rough and rugged fighter, you know. And then in the second fight, we know what happened in the second fight. He just got absolutely slaughtered by Wang Versailles. So Roman Gonzalez, you know, he needed time to recuperate, rest his body. It looks like that's what he's done. It looks like he is healthy again. And it looks like, look, people want to say he's washed up and he's fallen off. And to be fair, like, you know, just 2 years ago, this guy was the pound-and-pound king of boxing. Now he's on Rio Murata's early parts of his undercard, you know. So it's a fair point, but as far as him being a fighter and being a boxer, this guy is still world championship quality. He is. I just think with the Wang Versailles fights, those fights took a lot out of him. Coming after the Cuadras fight, what took a lot out of him. Then when you add those 3 fights on top of his trainer dying, his trainer, Arnulfo Obando, which I made videos about, Arnulfo Obando, who's been his trainer since like he was like yay high, you know, he died right after the Cuadras fight. So when you factor all these things in, he was very physically taxed. He was extremely mentally taxed, and you know, he took his time off, and you know, I'm glad he's back. I'm glad he's active because for a while, even as somebody who is a massive Chocolatito fan, I was wondering whether he'd box again. You know, I didn't know if he'd ever box again because, you know, you didn't really see too much on social media from him. You didn't really hear much in the news from him. So I'm like, wow, is this guy gonna retire? Well, he came back. He boxed this Filipino guy 14-5-3, stopped him in the second round, and he looked good. Like, Roman Gonzalez looked really good. He was in there. He was placing his shots real nicely. The movement was still there. The ability to cut the ring off was still there. The ability to get leverage with his lead foot and then attack moving forward was still there. So that begs the question. Okay, we know he's going to still beat this level of opposition. We know he's not going to struggle against these kind of fighters. But where exactly is this guy in the ranks of the super flyweights? Because when we talk about the super flyweight division, we're talking about, you know, fighters like Juan Francisco Estrada, Gallo Estrada, Jerwin Cajas. We're talking about Cal Yafai. We're talking about guys like that. Wang Versailles still in the mix. Well, I believe it, but he might have moved up. I'm not sure. But either way, there's still some really top drawer fighters. You know, you got the Israel Gonzalez's of the world. Cuadras is still around. So, you know, where exactly is he in the thick of this, and can he become world champion again? That's a question we want to ask. And as it stands right now, you know, in 2020, Roman Gonzalez right now, he's ranked number 1 by the WBC and number 3 by the WBA. So he's not that far. Like, believe it or not, guys, you guys are saying this guy fell off, but he's still highly ranked by the 2 sanctioning bodies. It's very likely in 2020 that he could wind up getting a world title shot against either Calify or Gallo Estrada. Now, if you were to ask me who do I think is the more winnable of the two fights, to me it's clearly Calify. Now, listen, I'm here in the UK. I just recently had the chance to meet Calify. He's an absolutely lovely person. You know, he's one of those people that when you meet him, you know, you actually wind up wanting him to succeed because he's such a down-to-earth and nice person. But in terms of the boxing, you know, this is a guy in Calify who was an Olympian for Great Britain. He's someone that's had that title for 3 years now. He is the UK's longest reigning world champion. He's made 5 title defenses, and not all of them have been smooth sailing. You know, I thought last year he was very fortunate to get a decision against Israel Gonzalez. And I talked to him recently. We did an interview, so if you want to see it, it'll be right here or right here. I'm not sure where it's going to be. One of these two corners. That's the fight to me for Roman Gonzalez where he might be able to get his world title back, because Calify. One thing you guys don't understand about Calify, and this is something I just learned myself just from meeting him. This guy, in terms of how wide he is, he's very wide and stocky for the weight class. Because when I met Calify, he's pushing about like 120. He was pushing about 128 pounds. He told me, so he was very stocky. And I was very surprised with how big he was for the weight class, and it actually kind of explains how he was able to fight David Carmona, the rough and tuggy David Carmona, the Mexican fighter. It actually explains how he was able to fight him the way he fought him, because Carmona is known as a rugged guy on the inside, and that's how Calify fought him in that fight. So that might be a tougher fight than I think for Chocolatito Gonzalez, but I've always said if you can't hurt Roman Gonzalez, then you can't beat Roman Gonzalez, and I'm not exactly sure if Calify could hurt Roman Gonzalez. You got to be something really special to hurt this guy. I mean, something really special. And Rungvisai, to his credit, in terms of power and the attributes he brings to the table, he was something special, and he proved that in the first Estrada fight when he fought Estrada, how special of a fighter he was. So he deserves credit, and I don't even think he gets enough himself. But yeah, we're looking at Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. Right now, as it stands, the WBC belt is vacant. You know, yeah. So. Oh no, that's flyweight. That's flyweight. My bad. That's flyweight. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, the WBO champion is Casasoto Ioka, and the Ioka fight I think would be interesting for Chocolatito, because that was a fight that was being discussed years and years ago when Casasoto Ioka was moving up the ranks of flyweight, and his team clearly ducked Roman Gonzalez. Like they didn't want no smoke with Chocolatito back then, because back in like 2014, 2015, maybe even earlier than that, when that fight was being talked about. That was prime Chocolatito, and prime Chocolatito was something to behold. He was something special. He was something that we very rarely will ever see in the professional ranks of boxing. So that's a fight that I know Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez would like, because that was a fight that was on the table early in their careers, and it didn't happen. And Ioka's team, they kind of steered clear of Chocolatito because they didn't want no smoke. So he's a WBO champion. I think that would be a good fight for Chocolatito. And Cajas is an interesting fight to me because... well, I don't think he's ranked. He's not ranked in the IBF, is he? Yeah, he's not. Okay, so he's not ranked in the IBF, so I don't think the Inca's fight will happen. But, the two most realistic fights for him seem to be the WBA title fight with Calify and the WBC fight with Gallo Estrada. So I anticipate that it'll probably be the WBC fight with Gallo Estrada, because Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez has a great working relationship with the WBC. He's very loyal to the WBC. So I look for him to go that route. And if he does go that route and fights Estrada, then it's going to be a tough fight, because like Gallo Estrada has matured and gotten much better as a fighter since they first fought, and obviously Roman Gonzalez has declined quite significantly since their first fight, because Gallo Estrada, let's make no mistakes about it, Gallo Estrada fought the prime Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez when he was young, and he gave him his toughest fight of his career to date at that point. But now the tables have turned. Now you have Gallo in his prime, and you have Roman Gonzalez probably on the downslide. So it's an interesting fight, and it's one that I think stylistically Roman Gonzalez still has a great chance in, because like the old adage says, styles do make fights. And Gallo Estrada is still a counterpuncher. He's a guy who likes to sit back and wait. He's very much like a Juan. He's like a mini Juan Manuel Marquez. That's how he fights. So because he fights in that manner, it gives Roman Chocolatito time to initiate the action, press the action, and back him up. And if Roman Chocolatito backs you up and he starts landing those 5, 6, 7, 8 punch combinations, breaking you down, placing them, jabbing you and stabbing you up and down, you know, you're in big trouble. You're in big trouble. So people might think it's crazy to say this, but I still think Chocolatito Gonzalez could beat Gallo Estrada. I think that's. I would favor Gallo. I would say it's like a 65-35 fight, you know, in favor of Gallo Estrada. But Gonzalez would be a very live underdog, and I would have a lot of confidence putting money on him to win that fight if I was a betting man. So yeah, that's a good fight for him. And the Cal 5 fight, that's one that's been talked about on this channel for quite some time. I talked to Cal about it in our interview, and Cal was saying, because I asked him, I said, how come these big fights, you know, you've had the belt for this amount of time, why haven't you gotten these big fights? And Cal 5 told me that the reason that those fights haven't happened was because, you know, when he fought in, because he fought in Fresno, California last year, and he made his American debut, and that was actually, he was the co-main event of a German Cajas undercard, and that was supposed to be the precursor to them having their unification fight, though that fight fell through. Then the Gallo Estrada fight was supposed to happen in Miami, actually, on the Demetrius BOWE Andrade undercard on January 30th. That fell through. And then I asked him specifically on and off camera about Gonzalez. How come you haven't fought Gonzalez? And his answer to me was, they said that that's a fight that they're not interested in. And when he says they, he means Carlos Blandon, Chocolatito Gonzalez's team, people like that. So, you know, it is what it is, man. Like, I'm not going to say what he, I mean, he seemed very honest when he was talking to me. Like, he didn't seem like the kind of guy to lie, but, you know, sometimes fighters do lie, so I'm not saying who I believe, who I don't believe, but Gonzalez to me doesn't seem like the kind of fighter that's going to turn down a world title shot. Just saying. I don't think he would turn down a world title shot, so, who knows? I think that fight would be, to me, be interesting, because that fight would give me a lot of answers to the flyweight division, the super flyweight division. You know, Cal 5 is looked at by many people as the weakest champion in the division. Even though he's the longest reigning champion in the division, he still hasn't had that big fight yet. So some people do look at him as the weakest champion in the division. So if he beats Chocolatito Gonzalez, I know people are going to say he's old and whatnot. I would view that as an amazing win for him, because Chocolatito is still Chocolatito, and the only guy to beat this guy was Vasai. Let's get that right. You know, this Gonzalez has fought the who's who of the small weight classes, and the only guy to beat him, the only man that beat him, was Vasai. And honestly, you could argue that he never even deserved a second fight with Gonzalez, because he lost the first one, but he was very fortunate to get the decision, and he erased all the doubts in the second fight. So you gotta give him credit for that. But Cal 5 would become only the second man to defeat Gonzalez, so that's a great win to me. For me, I would look at that as a great win for him, and then that would, to me, legitimize his title run, because if you look at like his run as champion, you know, he's beaten some decent fighters. You know, he's beaten Israel Gonzalez and David Carmona, and he won the belt off Luis Concepcion. You know, good fighters at the small weight classes. But these are not the fighters that you would consider the elites, the who's who's, the creme de la creme, the upper echelon fighters of the small weight classes. These guys are just solid guys, or just, you know, good contenders, but not the top of the top. So his resume needs that elite fighter on it, and should he beat Chocolatito Gonzalez, that gives him a Hall of Famer, a future Hall of Famer on his resume, and that actually legitimizes him more. And then we had to look at Cal 5 and say, you know what, this Cal 5 guy is a lot better than we think. And you know, we had to start looking at him as maybe one of the best super flyweights in the world. I mean, he already is because he's a champion, but I'm saying we need to really look at him as one of the best super flyweights in the world, because look what he's done to Chocolatito Gonzalez. So I want to see that fight, but that's enough rambling. I just wanted to get my thoughts out there on Gonzalez's fight. He looked really good. For that level of opposition that they put in the ring with him. It was a tune-up fight that he needed for his career. He got it, so for like a 2020, hopefully he gets those big fights moving forward, because we need to know if he still got it, or if he's just so far past it that he can't compete with the elites anymore. And as a fan of his, I want to know that myself. So you guys let me know in the comments, what do you think about Chocolatito Gonzalez and his most recent fight, his 2020? Who do you think would be the best fight for him at World Championship level? Do you think it's Gallo Estrada because of the styles? Do you think it's Cal 5 because of the lack of big fight experience on his end? Let me know in the comments down below, and take the time to subscribe. Like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT. We're at the Davy Powell. You're watching watching True School Sports.